Hey everyone, it's Cole. I'm getting pretty tired of classical liberalism, aren't you? I'd like to just read a few little passages here before I begin. A moment's reflection shows that liberalism is entirely negative. It is not a formative force, but always and only a disintegrating force. By Francis Parker Yockey, writer of Imperium, and I'd like to add just a second, slightly longer quote by him that I think encapsulates this perfectly. Mediocrity rises over the horizon of a dying race as its last great ideal. Total mediocrity, renunciation of all greatness, and distinction of any kind whatever. Also mediocrity of the racial bloodstream. Anyone can come in now, not only on our terms, for there are no more terms. There are no racial differences. Everything is one, dull, eventless, mediocre. The weakening of the will is not hard put to find an ideology which rationalizes it as progress. Everything is desirable, the aim of all previous history. The democracy-liberalism complex lies to hand, and it acquires in such times the meaning of death, of race, nation, and culture. There are no human differences. Everyone is equal. Men are women, women are men. The individual is everything. Life is a lifelong holiday, whose main problem is devising new and more stupid pleasures. There is no God. There is no state. Off with the head of anyone who says there is a mission, who wishes to respect authority. These symptoms, or similar ones, will be found present at the demise of every upper stratum whose will is weakened. That is directly from Imperium. As I said, I'm getting sick and tired of classical liberalism. The problem is, when you boil it down, it is not a, as Yockey puts it, a formative force. When you think about it, the basic moral compass of classical liberalism is just do no wrong. Sounds pretty simple. Sounds pretty good. If no one does any wrong, then no wrong is being done. Wonderful. Except that that's not all there is. If you tell a dog no, the dog will look at you, it'll wait, and then it'll go back to what it's doing. The dog is a yes and animal. It'll stop, it'll say yes, and if you don't give the dog a good outlet to act upon, it's going to keep doing bad things. It'll do it forever, no matter how much you tell it no. Society and civilization needs to have a reason for existing, not simply to prevent, but to actually form. Now, classical liberalism, it is very useful. It is good at actually dismantling. It's good at subversion, but it's not a creation. It's not a creative thing. It's like having a piece of land. We will want to build a structure, and someone else might want to build a different structure. One of us could be right, one could be wrong, but at least we're building something. The classical liberal says no. Do no wrong. Don't build. Don't create. Don't form. Let what happens, happens. The classical liberals, they're very moderate in this, but they're moderate not in a way of of reaching a form of compromise. They're moderate in the way of a giant wall of ballistics gel. Both of us, whichever side you want to consider right and wrong, but we can just say the right and the left, we're in a civil war, a culture war. But the classical liberals are just a big, huge wall. A big wall of ballistics gel in between the two. Just slowing down all the bullets in between and then complaining when they're getting shot in the crossfire. I don't want to harm classical liberals. I don't want to defame them. It's just, if you're not creating something, then simply don't interfere with those who are creating. Now, often I will hear from V and Sargon various moral arguments. They will say that's immoral, that's bad, that's everything like that. Okay. When governing a society, yes, morals are very important. They determine what's right and wrong, of course. But before you determine what's right and wrong, you need to determine functionality. What will work and what will not work. If it's not moral to walk on your legs and it is moral to walk with your lips, first you need to decide whether it's functional to walk with your lips. If something's not functional, but it's moral, then it can't actually be moral because it's not a realistic function. It could be moral for us to donate literally everything we own to everyone else, but it's not functional. You can't build solely on morality. You need to build on functionality and determine which functions then are moral. And if there are no moral options, you need to pick which is most moral and most functional in the highest possible ratio. Understand? Okay. Now that we're getting into functionality, we can look at this in terms of game theory. Now, if you have two people, one is discriminating, one is not discriminating, and the person discriminating will have the edge over the one not discriminating because they are allowing themselves to have access to more information. They're going to be able to act with an advantage. Now, the society they want is where nobody discriminates. Everyone is equal then. Fine. But that cannot be enforced under classical liberalism. You can't go out of your way to force people what to think and how to think about others, according to classical liberalism. So, you're going to have people accepting this premise that it's immoral to discriminate, and you're going to have people rejecting this premise, which say that it is irrelevant if discrimination is moral or not. The people who discriminate will be at a direct advantage to those who don't discriminate. It'll just be a matter of time before the discriminating people just overtakes the other in terms of advantage. Now, if we look at when they say you don't need to discriminate, you just need to know the individual. You can't. You can't know everybody. The human brain can only maintain about 132, I believe it's 132 distinct relationships at a time. Can't handle anymore. Even your best friend, you don't know everything about your best friend. You don't know every aspect of their life. You're going to need to discriminate. You're going to have, if you're thinking about how society should be arranged, how people should act, should not act, you're going to have to categorize people. Every single circumstance, every single individual's traits, qualities, characteristics, beliefs, passions, etc. You can't know them all for every single person. It's just not possible. Can't do it. Now, people who are discriminating, they're going to have an advantage, as I said, because it has been shown that race, sex, etc., are good categories. We can make realistic assumptions about the behaviors, traits, and patterns of these categories. You can separate them, but you won't know these traits beforehand. You just can't. Now, another bad assumption is it is immoral to judge based on things people don't choose. This is ridiculous. We judge all the time. If a person doesn't choose to get infected, we still judge them as if they're infected. They can say, I didn't choose to get this cold. Please kiss me anyway. No. We're going to judge you. We're going to say, no, you can't kiss me. No, you're not going to be able to go and infect other people. And especially if it's a very dangerous disease. We're going to say, no, we're going to quarantine you. We're going to restrict your freedom of movement. You cannot. Discrimination. It's completely fine, completely normal, and completely valid. Now, another issue with classical liberalism, again, as not a formative force, we can imagine an ideal classical liberal society. Imagine if suddenly everyone in the world stopped doing everything. They breathed, they stood, they maintained their balance. That was it. They didn't drink, they didn't eat, they didn't do anything. It would be a completely classical liberal society. Everyone is equal under the law. There's absolutely no discrimination. There's absolutely nothing wrong being done. Everyone is economically free to choose what they want. Everyone is doing what they want without being... Get out. Get out. Get out! I'm incredibly sorry about that. But again, these people are completely free, they're completely equal under the law, but nothing is being done. Eventually, people are going to collapse from exhaustion, they're going to die of dehydration. Yes, it's a completely moral thing. They're absolutely doing nothing wrong. They're all choosing to do what they want, and since they want nothing, they are doing nothing. This is not a society I want. I don't want a society or a world or even a group of people to just do no wrong. They have to do more. They have to act. It's just a matter of survival. You have to act. You can't just quarantine yourself and say nothing else matters but yourself. The society at large matters. Understand yet? Good. Gonna go on to my next page of points here. Now, often the argument is used, it's not hurting anyone. It's not hurting anyone. That attitude has led to where we are now. It's gotten so bad that many places are on the brink of civil war. Academia is completely overrun by illiberal people, by Marxists who advocate completely within the realms of the law, not hurting anyone. We can't have it. We can't do it. When you take this attitude of only me, only I matter, and then you go out and say, hey, no one else should matter to you, we get this. We get people who do care about controlling you, who do care about shaping society. Yes, you've stopped evil, but you've also stopped the good, and without that good, evil found a way within your system to rise and corrupt and then utterly change your system. You just simply can't stand by the side and let just nothingness consume your life. There's more to hedonism. Pleasure is not the end goal. Individuality is great, but as individuals, you need to eventually grow up and learn that you are not the center of everything. Other people matter. Therefore, you need to actually go out and try to help other people, to actually create, to actually form. Now, I know this was very general and this was very on the spot, and I apologize for any kind of weird things or maybe some kind of any inconsistency that I said. This was just a little something that I wanted to get out there. And I'm possibly going to do more videos like this. Thank you all for listening, and see ya.